Hello, this is Duncan Foley, and this is tutorial booklet 2 advanced, and we're going to be looking at FlexSim 2020. This tutorial is going to look at the on message feature that FlexSim has. So I'm not going to go too much into detail on this page, but basically we can send messages from an object in the scene, maybe like a processor for our tutorial it's going to be. And we're going to send a message to close the input port or close the output port, and we're going to get a little red bar signal on the input port of the processor. And similarly, we're going to use close, open, stop features and resume. So you can see we're going to do a standard model, source, queue, processor, and sync. And when we send the close input port, you can see a little red bar appear there. And then we'll do a little bit of open. We'll look at the difference between open and stop and close. Then we'll see how we can use this in an example. So we're going to look at the ability to send triggers to an object. So it's got this example is going to send the trigger from a processor, the current object, to itself. It's going to have no delay, so it'll send straight away, and it'll say parameter 1 is true. So, and then we'll look at what to do with that message. And so what this example is going to do is going to do go through, create a little small FlexSim model. We're going to send a signal from this paint station, and it's going to be delayed by 3 seconds to port parameter 1. So, and parameter 1 is going to be input port open. So we're going to do a trigger that says when the object comes onto the processor, close the input port, and then when it leaves, count to 3 and send a message to itself to open it. And then we'll look at a little bit of dashboards and stuff like that. Okay. So like I said, we're going to be using FlexSim 2020. For these examples, it doesn't really matter if you use seconds or minutes. I will change it to minutes just for no very good reason, if I'm honest. Let's do a queue. Sorry, a source, a queue, a processor, and a sync. Put them reasonably close together. Okay. And then let's join these up together. We're using an A key. What we're going to do now is going to right click on the processor, select edit, and we're going to designate this node as SO. What that will allow us to do is we'll be able to call up SO, which is going to be processor 1, and we're going to be able to close and open the input ports by writing to it and writing some script. So it's just click on there. So now processor 1 can be called up using just by the name SO. So let's go to the top of the screen and click the script button. Okay, we've got our model ready now. We've clicked on the script button, and let's type in close input brackets SO, close brackets, press return. And what's going to happen now is let's reset and run our model. When we get a couple of boxes coming, you can see that the input port for processor 1 or SO is open. If we run this model now, you can see that we've got a red box there, a block, and so it's closed the input port. Stop and reset, and again, if we just run it, as soon as we run our script, it blocks. Stop and reset again. Let's run our model, block it, and then let's change that script to open. Input, there it is, open input. Do we want it to be SO? And if we run the script now, it's open the input port. Let's change this to close output of SO. So what we're expecting is the output port now to be closed. So, and that's exactly what's happened. The box has come to the end and it's closed, and our queue is filling up. Let's stop, reset, and change our text to stop input. And it's SO. Press return. And run our model. And if we run our script, it stopped, which seems to be the same as close, but if I press run again, and run again, so I press it 3 times, and let's change our code, because we want it to resume input of SO. And run the script. Press it once, press it twice, and press it 3 times. So the stop input and resume is taking into account the number of times I'm pressing the script, I'm running the script. Let's try a new piece of code. So we want to stop object of SO, and we would like, I'm going to put it in full capitals, state underscore breakdown. And if we run our model now, we've got a full breakdown of the processor. And I'm going to run that again. So I've got, and again. So I've got 3 times again. Press the button 3 times. So it's resume. Oh, let's just resume object SO. Run 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're getting a bit of understanding of what the script feature can do and some of the basic code in here. We're basically going to take this code and put it into the triggers feature of this processor. So let's stop the model, reset, and we don't need the script window anymore. So I'm just going to close that, open the processor. And let's go to the triggers option, and we're going to do on exit. and it's going to be send message. We're going to send a message to current from processor 1 to processor 1, and we're going to have no delay, and change parameter 1 to 1. So whatever we say parameter 1 is when we get the message will become true. Okay, let's apply that. So at the moment, it's when an object exits the processor will send a message to itself, and the message is parameter 1 is true. But we haven't said what parameter 1 is. So let's do on message. Click on the green plus sign, and it's going to be close and open ports. So we're going to output port 1, output port is closed, and that's parameter 1. So we send a message that parameter 1 is now true, which is output port is closed. And apply and say OK. Let's reset and run. So we're expecting, I'll just click on there, so you'll see one hopefully run across, and there you go. So what happened is one object went to the sink, went through on exit. On exit, it sent a message to itself, which was to close the exit, the output port, and that's exactly what's happened. So let's reset. So go back to the processor, go to triggers. Click on the plus sign. So let's change the color. This is just to explain the difference between no delay, etc. So we're just going to do that, and let's close and open ports there. So it's really not important what these two things are. It's just to explain what's happening here. So if we change no delay to 0, this will mean that the send message is activated, but change color and the close open ports will run before the message is sent, and finally the on message trigger will come. So if it's 0, these other on exits will be completed before the next command on message is triggered. If it's set as no delay, that this will happen, and the color and the close input output ports don't happen. So it's no delay, just this one will happen straight away. The other two don't. Okay. So we've worked out that we can send messages to itself. On exit, we can know what to do with the message, so we can retrieve the message and change parameters and stuff. A little bit about what the difference between no delay and a zero value. Right, I'm going to do start a new model now. I will change it to minutes. We're going to have two sources. Remember, you can hold F key down to copy. We're going to have a combiner, two processors, and a sync. Remember, for a combiner, the first thing goes into a combiner, which I'm going to call is going to be source 1, is the base for everything to be combined on. So it's normally a pallet, or imagine it's like a car chassis, and you put all the other sources will be wheels, engines, and stuff. So whatever comes in as port 1 is what everything else is combined with. So it is very important that you get the input port 1 in the right order. Okay. Let's go to source 1. Change the flow item type to a pallet, and change the inter-arrival time to 0. So we're assuming we have an infinite number of parts. Remember, we can click on the little button down the bottom hand side there to go to source 2. And let's change the inter-arrival time to 0 as well. So we've got infinite parts coming in quickly. Yeah. And what we know is the default for the combiner is, I am going to switch the travel across so we can see it, the palette and the box sliding along, is input port 2, which is going to be source 2, 1 of. Remember, input port 1 is always the base object, the pallet, or the car chassis, yeah? And so that's why it's slightly confusing. It always starts with input port 2. And if we have multiple sources going in, they'd be listed here. So if I reset this, what I would expect to happen is the pallet will come in, a box will go, and it should just keep going down. So there it is. Just to speed it up a little bit. It's not traveling across. What have I done wrong there? So combiner, I'll click on there. Yeah, there we go. Let's stop, reset. Let's open this, the combiner, and we're going to change its name. It's really important that you give your model good names that make sense. Do not stick with the same default names that FlexSim gives you. So this is an epoxy resin station. So we've got conveyor items up on the bottom. The processor time is statistical distribution, log normal 2, and its scale is 2.6. So as we type these in, the graph underneath should update, and the shape is 0.8. So you can see that it's squished down here, 2.6 on a scale. Apply it and OK, and go to the next, the first processor, which changed its name to it's a curing station. Processing time is 15 minutes. Yep. And say apply. Let's go back to the combiner. Go to triggers. And we want on entry. Got an on entry. Plus set color by case, and if you're using an old version of FlexSim, sort of 2018 or less, this may say set color by item. Case, and let's change that to blue. And apply it and say OK. Reset and run. We've got a little bit of an error here, and what's happening is we've just asked this combiner to triggers to look at the flow item type and change it to blue. But these objects don't have a label at the moment. So what we could do is go here. On creation. Set label, item type. We've only got one at the moment, so we'll just leave that as one. So let's say OK. Let's stop, reset, run. So that now is item type 1. The combiner is going to triggers, and it's looking at the flow item type and it's changing it to blue. But really there's two objects in this. There's the box, which if we click on it, has something called has a label called item type. And item type, change it to blue. So it has done that. But what the palette doesn't have a label. So it's just for now, we will change this. We might come back later and undo this, but let's do triggers on creation. So I've gone here and gone on creation, and data label. We only want one type of palette, and it's going to have a label called type, and it's going to be a number 1. So let's just click OK. And just close this, the error screen. Reset run. Reset run. And you can see now they've both gone blue. That's got a label item type 1. The palette has got a label item type 1. And the combiner, as we said, it's looking for an item type, and whatever it is, it's going to be blue. So that's solved that little problem. Change this, the tutorial for is asking us to change this for some unknown reason there. Let's go next door to our paint station. So let's double click on here. Call this paint station. Okay, let's go to the processor now. And look at one of the quirks of FlexSim. I'm going to click on, let's have a look, on entry, and we're going to change the color just like we did with the combiner, and set color by case, and change this to green, and apply, and say OK. But one of the quirks of FlexSim, it's all changed blue, but when it gets to the processor, only the palette changes, which can be quite frustrating. Let's reset that. And we have, let's check I've done that. Change the maximum content for the curing station to 1000. Let's go to the painting station. After each part is painted and exits the paint booth, the booth must be purged for 3 seconds. So this is where we bring in our knowledge about opening and closing the ports. Let's go to triggers, and we want to go to we've already used on entry, so let's click on the on entry. Add a new function, and we're going to go to the control. Where we put it? There we go. Control, close and open. So I'm going to close the input port. So when an object enters this processor, it will change the palette to green. Then it will close the input port. So if we apply that and say OK, and we run our model, so we get a blue as soon as this one comes, and it's closed the port, and that's it. We're stuck for now. Okay, that seems to have worked. Let's open the paint station again. Go to triggers, and on exit this time, we want to send a message. So control send message. So we want the current object to send a message to the current object. Change the delay to 3 units. I think we're in minutes. And change parameter to 1. So we're going to, as soon as an object comes in, it's going to close the port. Then when it exits, it will wait for 3 minutes, sorry, I think we're in minutes, and send a message to itself, which will be parameter 1 is true, but we haven't told this processor what parameter 1 is, so we need an on message now, and we need the close and open ports. And we need, because we sent the message to, just click on there, to the side. So what we're doing is we are closing the input port. So we need to make sure that this is set to open the input port. Input port open. apply and say OK. Just reset run. So here's a blockage. 1, 2, 3. You can't see it very well. Let's slow it right down. Maybe a little bit faster than that. So it looks as though it's 57, 58 block for 3 minutes. So it was about 58, so it should open about 61. There we go. What we could have done is done steps. So a step jumps to the next thing that's happening somewhere, something happening. So let's just I think what's happening is we're getting so many boxes coming in, it's not being very useful. Okay, let's reset them. So to recap with that, what we did is on triggers, change color, etc., and block the input port as soon as something came in. Then on exit, we sent a message to itself after 3 minutes of the object exiting, and it said open. So there you go. So let's go to the queuing station. It'd be kind of nice how long an object, to work out what the average time an object waits in here. So if we double click here and we look at the statistics here, we get the quick statistics. If we run our model, I've got to speed it quite far up. So we get some data to start playing here. So the average state time of a box and palette appearing here is 15 minutes. Let's just try something. Let's change this to stop after 120 minutes. Reset, run our model. Do it quite quickly. Click on there. Average stay time is 15 minutes. So let's stop, reset, and we have a queue of 1,000 in there. Let's change it quite drastically. See if reducing the number of parts in the production flow has any effect to how long objects stay in there. So let's reset run. No. Yeah, so has no effect whatsoever. So that might be something that useful to know about the state time and stuff. So just to recap on our model, we had combiners in our example. We looked at changing colors, the little quirks about changing colors on a combiner compared to a processor. We looked at on exit closing the input ports, on exit writing a message to the same object, and on message opening an input port. Okay, that's the end of this tutorial. Hopefully it was useful to you guys. Okay, thank you.